Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about the month of March. This is a month that we have so much going on. And of course, it is all reflected in the stars. I'm going to fill you in on what's going to be happening because of the configurations that are happening in the heavens. But before I do, remember, you can always sign up for my free newsletter where you will get all of my predictions delivered to your email address weekly. So go to galacticcenter.org and sign up for my free newsletter. While you're there, pay attention to my spiritual jewelry that reminds us of our spiritual journey here on Earth. Now let me begin with what is going to be happening in the month of March. Now, I've been talking a long time about this planetary war that's been going on with Mars and Venus. And yes, this planetary war equates to war on planet Earth. This is such a rare and unusual event that's happening where Venus, just from its retrograde, slowed down in speed and aligns with Mars, and they begin traveling together. When two planets are exactly the same degree, they're in a planetary war. They are fighting against each other, and that's what's happening. Now consider this: Mars is the planet of war and Venus is the planet of peace. So there are great strides coming about to bring peace to the planet. And I believe everything happens for a reason. Therefore, all of this is happening because it is waking us up. It's waking us up to all that has been going on. So many world leaders and people around the world are truly showing their true colors now. We can see it, whether or not we listen to what the media has to say about it or not. Just look at what's happening. It says it all. You don't have to hear commentaries about it. It's all happening for a divine reason. And yes, there will be, I hate to say it, but there will be great destruction. Because really, I've always said this too, people don't change unless they have to. And something is coming that makes us have to change. And this month, I believe, will be the most turbulent of all. Now, all the way to the first week of April, that's where we have an explosive event. Because let me remind everyone, this planetary war continues throughout March. But by the time we come to April, something does shift. And April 4th and 5th, I expect there to be a major event that will wake us up. Because on that day, and it's all building throughout March, but on that day, we have Mars and Saturn come together at 28 degrees of Capricorn. Now, meanwhile, we have this going on. We have Rahu and Ketu at 28 degrees of Aries and Libra. And that's the biggest event that's really happening this month of March. That is that Rahu and Ketu are changing signs. This happens every year and a half. And it really does play out as the most important energetic change going on in the world. It makes sense that this is going to change our outlook on our lives. Yes, I've been saying for a long time there's events that are going to change our world forever. The coronavirus did that. But now that we have Rahu and Ketu shifting signs, the virus is the least of our concerns. It is global war that is brewing. And if you think it's just about what's happening in the Ukraine, Wake up, because it's happening all over the world. There are people fighting, people at odds with each other, and something will give here that has to change it. Following this event, though, I want to give you that there's light at the end of this tunnel. What is that light that we have going on at the end of the tunnel? It is around the end of April. Something beautiful is coming, and something is going to give us divine protection. So let me talk a little bit about this nodal shift that's happening on March 16th. And we all feel it coming, but it is powerful. Let me talk a little bit about what has previously happened before when Rahu was in Aries and Ketu was in Libra. So this happens basically about every 18 and a half years that the nodal axes will go through a different sign. So as I spoke numerous times about how Rahu and Ketu, every time they went into Gemini and Sagittarius, that creates catastrophic events. Then we just experienced the last year and a half when Rahu and Ketu just went through Taurus and Scorpio. And those are fixed signs. The fixed signs really do give a sense of inertia, where things don't change a lot. Things are stagnant. And it really is the events that fall after such catastrophic events of the Gemini and Sag placements. So the Gemini Sag placements, as I said, brought on the revelations of the coronavirus that changed the world forever. Then we had a healing complacently that things had to just get stabilized. Now we're going into Rahu going into Aries and Ketu going into Libra. These are cardinal signs that represent fast, enormous changes. And not to mention, when Rahu goes into Aries, that is a sign that is action-oriented, fast movement, change. And Libra deals with justice. But Mars being the planet that rules Rahu by the fact that it's in Aries, is about conflict and war. While Ketu is in Libra, and Libra's about justice and balance and peace. So we have this pull on both polarities of the Rahu and the Ketu, of the Mars with the Venus as rulers. But let me say this. Many great things are going to come out of this. Before I start with the duality of what is going to happen, Aries is the sign of initiation of new projects. And Rahu is coming into the sign where Uranus is. Uranus has been in Aries. This represents great strides and discoveries, great strides and invention and change. This is monumental, what is about to come about. So these are all the good things. And it also has a lot to do with space exploration, as well as bringing us closer to understanding what is out there in space. And yes, I am referring to alien contact during this time. Now, talking about where Ketu is in Libra, this is a time that throughout this year and a half, so the nodes will be here basically till November of 2023 in Aries and Libra. And what will come out of these stringent, horrific times will be justice and peace. This I can reassure you. But we've got to go into the tunnel first to get there. And as Rahu will be transiting with Uranus and eventually Mars around August 1st, they will exactly all three converge together. And that will bring some major blow-ups, where I think it's going to have more to do with earthquakes. Major earthquakes are going to hit the world during this time. And let me just give you a little history on what happened before the last time Rahu and Ketu were in Aries and Libra. So going back to 2004, we had one of the worst tsunamis that hit December 26, 2004, Malaysia, and shaking up the world. This was catastrophic earthquake in Malaysia, in Indonesia, and it even affected the waves. In India, there was enormous loss of life from this horrific earthquake. And if we even go back and look at more of the things that happened way back, 1929 was the year that Rahu was in Aries and Ketu in Libra. And we know that this is when we had the most catastrophic shift in the stock market ever that created the Great Depression. So what are we looking at with this nodal axis shifting here? We're looking at some major shakeups, things happening completely out of the blue, fast and furious change. And it is eventually for the better, but you're going to see, I mean, major shifts in the stock market, highs and lows that are so extreme, plus earthquakes, major earthquakes. The world is shaking from all of the emotion and feelings that people are going through during this time, because so many people have been polarized. So many people have been divided. And that needs to end. The world is waking us up to realize we have to come from a place where we find peace and unity. We will, but there has to be some wake-up calls. So, also talking about what could be happening, space travel is going to be recognized as the new frontier during this time. And of course, the aspect of the alien life being more real than ever, because we're going to need assistance. And whether we know it or not, there's going to be help from that which is beyond this world. And if you want to think of it in aliens, so be it. I think that is a fact. But I also know it is spiritual energy that is here to guide us on planet Earth as we speak right now. We need it. And that's what I'll be talking about in greater detail, that this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction that's coming towards the end of April, and they will be traveling in Pisces together in May, is going to be the great awakening of spiritual energy. And this is where I believe the veil will be thinnest, where we can be in contact with the spiritual world that will help guide us. We have great opportunity during this time to be in touch with the spiritual force, the spiritual power that guides our everyday activities. We will connect. And this is the healing that all of this calamity and all of this planetary war and war cycle that's going on planet Earth for the month of March, there is light coming. I think one of the best things I can give people with astrology is that when things are difficult in their lives or in the world, I can give them the guidance as to when it will get better. Because when you know when it will get better, it gives you the strength to get through the tough times. That's what I want everyone to be aware of. The times are going to be tough. Now, let me talk about a little bit about the new moon that's going to be happening as soon as March 2nd. The new moon is going to be conjunct Jupiter, and there is hope that's coming from all of the calamity and the extremes that look so dire during this time, because there is the duality of the dark and the light. It will never be so obvious as during this time. Mark my words, because it is going to be a horrendous time in this world for many. And then looking towards the full moon that happens 2 weeks later on March 18th, the full moon will be at 3 degrees of Virgo, opposed the sun. Of course, a full moon is when the sun and the moon are exactly opposite, but it will be opposed to sun at 3 degrees of Pisces. This is conjunct the fixed star sheet, and that particular fixed star there's a few, but this is one of the worst and most dramatic. And in this point in Pisces and Virgo, there could be major loss of life on this planet. So, as I said, this is a critical, monumental month of change, where the nodes change. We have planetary war, and what's ahead is the conjunction of Saturn and Mars around April 4th. But realize, as these planets are nearing that point, that's when the catastrophic events will be happening, and explosive events. Yes, it's going to be very intense. There's going to be loss of life, even with world leaders, around the time of April 4th. Could happen a week before, a week later, but that's the day of the conjunction. That is actually at the midpoint of the nodal axes. 28 degrees Aries and Libra, 28 degrees of Capricorn, and anyone that has planets, 28 degrees of the cardinal signs, and that throws it into the opposition sign of 28 degrees of Cancer. You must take care of yourself. This is a time of radical shifts and changes that will be happening in the world, but it's opening the door for radical shifts and changes of a great awakening, a spiritual awakening. I'm going to say a spiritual revelation and a spiritual awakening. So get ready for the extremes that are going to occur between the months of March and April, giving us a look at peace in May. So with that, I'd like to close. If you would like more information on me, if you would like a reading, or if you would like to sign up for my free newsletter, go to my website, galacticcenter.org. And don't forget, I'm going to be having a new series of classes that you can be a part of that will tap into the spiritual energy that is about to occur. And this will be in April, May. But my class to prepare everyone is going to be starting around March 29th. Check it out on my website. It's called the Shooting Stars Series. It is a private group where we're going to talk about all things spiritual and growth producing. And remember, if you would like to study Vedic astrology with me, go to my university website, which is University of Vedic Astrology.com. Thank you.